So today's theme is the continuation of a few sessions that we've done on feet, and we're going to focus on toes. And so to that end, find a place to sit comfortably on a cushion. Um, that's what I'm going to do. And once you're seated, then we're going to go from Dandasana with legs straight out to cross-legged position. And let's start that in cross-leg. There's a couple of ways that you could sit like this. And one of them is to have like a loose cross-leg or a tighter one when you draw your knees together. And that's up to you about which of those you choose. And if you bring your hands in front of you and lean out, you can walk your buttocks back onto your cushion, and some of you might be sitting on the floor, so that you're on the front of your sitting bones. And then once you're upright again, and you're sitting nice and tall, let's take the arms wide to the side and begin to open up the corners of your chest with a big sideways stretch. And feel the action of that in your upper back, your shoulder blades. But make sure that you feel kind of grounded through your seat, your buttocks, your feet on the floor. Then turn your palms up towards the ceiling. And keep turning your arms out, right at the top of your arms too. And then bring your arms up in Urdhva Hastasana, that overhead stretch. And feel the lengthening through your arms, through the shoulder blades and the side body, and reaching for the ceiling. Keep the bottom of your rib cage relaxed and connected with the abdominal area. And then release, and arms back out and down, and extend your legs. And with your legs extended and together, your feet together, let's do a few movements for your feet. Stretch your toes away from you, and then back towards you. A gentle warm-up for the ankle joints. But you could be working through your toes here too. So curl your toes as your feet go down, curl them back towards you, and back and forth. And you could pace this a little bit if you like and go more quickly, or just keep it at a slow rate. Lovely. And then I want you to cross your legs again, but the opposite cross-legged. So the other shin in front. Bolsters that you sit on, you may be sitting on, are kind of slippery, so keep adjusting your seat so you're still on your sitting bones. And that will help you sit upright. Beautiful. And then bring your arms forward and up. That's a natural inhalation, but make sure that you're still breathing. And interlock your hands. Turn your palms inside out. Stretch away. And if it feels fine for your particular shoulders, bring your arms back a little bit further behind the line of your ears. Make sure that you just haven't thrust your chin forward. Keep your ears back too. Lower your hands to chest height. Change the interlock. Arms forward first, push out and up. And that beautiful overhead stretch. And once more, keep the diaphragm ribs relaxed and softening down into the abdomen. Lovely. And then forward and down and release. Once more, extend your legs out. Good. And then keeping your feet slightly apart, have a look at your lovely toes and just curl your toes. So scrunch them up as much as you can, and then open up the spacing between all of your toes. Scrunch your toes and squeeze, and then draw your toes back towards you and open up the spacing. This is a surprisingly tricky exercise, and especially if you've spent most of your life, like most people do, with shoes on. Now we're setting our toes free. And then pause with your feet, ankles relaxed, and just have another look at your toes and open up the spacing where the big toe's moving towards the center and the little toe's moving away from the big toe. My big toe wants to stay glued to the second toe, so I've got this scrunchie, and I'm going to put it on my big toes, and then step my feet out just a little bit further and see if I can get my big toe to move towards the center line, towards the median line. That's a really good device if you tend towards having limited space between the toes. The more flexibility there, the better. So you can try that sometime if you have such a thing as scrunchies around the place or rubber bands. And then let's cross the legs again. And we keep alternating the cross of the legs. And then just check your seat once more. Bring your hands onto the bolster. Press your hands down, lift your chest up. Draw the tips of your shoulders back. That's a beautiful movement. And then while we're here, we'll do one more of the arm movements. Interlock your hands. Lift your elbows out to the side and bring your knuckles underneath your chin. Even by itself, that's a lovely movement for lengthening. Inhale. Exhale, push out. Inhale, go up, overhead, and maybe back a little bit. Exhale, lower the arms behind you and interlock your hands again. Inhale, open your chest, draw the points of the shoulders back, and exhale, release. That's such a nice exercise. Let's do it again. Interlock your hands. Inhale, stretch up, long neck. Exhale, press forward. Inhale, go up and back. And exhale, tips of the shoulders, and release for one more round. In breath, out breath. In breath, out breath. Hands joined. If you leant forward, then straighten up again. Inhale, exhale, release, and straighten your legs forward. We've gone through a few possible movements. And there's some other ones that we can do here to emphasize your feet. And if you separate your feet and turn your feet to the face towards each other, turning your feet, your ankles in, and then turning your feet out. Rolling in, feet are facing towards, soles of the feet facing towards each other, and then rolling out, and the soles of the feet face away. And go through those two movements. Be kind to your feet. If you've ever had a bad ankle sprain or even a break, just modify what you're doing for that idea of kindness. Good. And then just shake your feet out. Just give them a good shake out. Let's do one more in the cross-legged position. I hope that you're alternating one leg in front of the other each time. And then adjusting your seat. Feel your feet on the floor and flex your feet so your toes are drawing back towards your knees in the cross-legged position, and feel the outer spine of your foot pressing down. As you press down there, see if you can connect that with a hip movement, as though you're drawing your hips, the outer hips, into the midline of your body. And then let's go into a rotation. So left hand, right knee, right hand behind you or onto the bolster beside your right hip, and then just gentle rotation to the right side. Keep all the length through your spinal column that you can create, and looking back over your shoulder. Take one or two more deep breaths there, and then merely, without turning back to center, just turn your head and look over your left shoulder. And at this point, lift up your chest a little bit more. Beautiful. All right, let's go the other way. And swapping hands, right hand, left knee. Left hand pressing down will give you more lift through your spine, and looking back. Create more length again, draw up, and then turn your head and look towards the camera. Lift your chest, look over your shoulder, nice and tall. Good. And release, and extend out your legs. Good. Stay in Dandasana for a moment longer. Often we don't credit this pose for being as valuable as it really is. So with your legs and your feet back together, your hands onto your bolster, and elongating, drop your shoulders. Good. Have a look at your feet, and have your feet kind of in neutral position. So you're not pressing them forward, you're not drawing them back. And then relax the ankles. So soften at the front of your ankles. Press your heels a little bit, and then see if you can, with the help of your hands, push forward slightly more towards the sitting bones or the very front of the sitting bones. Good. Tips of the shoulders back. Tone your thigh muscles and draw the thighs up towards your hip fold. Beautiful. And then let's come up into cat pose. And as we are now unpropped, just on your hands and your knees. There's some lovely stretches that we can do here. So we're just keeping the spine in neutral position, neither lifting the back or dropping it. And then have the front of your ankles flat on the floor, your knees directly underneath your hips. And from here, extend your right leg back and tuck your right toes under and place them onto the mat in that curled position. And then lean back into the right heel, so your right leg's completely straight, and feel that really delicious stretch behind, well, maybe it's not, the calf muscle from the back of your knee to your Achilles. Leaning back, and then release that, and bring your chest forward slightly. Your toes are still curled under, and they'll just tuck under a little bit more as you bring your chest forward. And then easing back again, and calf and Achilles stretch. Stretch the heel away from you. And forward again, and lead with the top front corners of your chest looking out. And one more of those stretches, back leg stretches. Beautiful. And then fold that leg in. Rest on your knees once more, knees in a line. And then left leg back. Reach it right back. Coil the toes. Stretch the heel away from you. And lean back a little bit into that increased stretch. Good. Releasing and coming chest forward. Tuck the toes under even more, even more. And then rock back again. Taking a couple breaths there. Forward. And last time, and hold the stretch. See if you can keep your weight more towards the big toe side of your foot. And that might switch the relationship you have with the back, the thigh muscles at the back, even your buttock muscles. And once more coming forward. And then both knees in a line. Good. Let's take a break and ease your buttocks back towards your heels. Drop your elbows, drop your shoulders. All right, and then back to all fours kneeling. Got a little bit more work to do here. Knees are apart, hip width, hands are apart, shoulder width. Go back to extending the leg behind you. And this time balance the weight onto your left knee. That's going to be your weight-bearing knee. And raise that right leg off the floor. Point your toes away from you. And lift your chest and look out. Good. Extend that leg as much as possible. Then fold the right leg in towards you. And we're not going to bring it all the way to the chest, just in line with your other knee. And then extend the leg back out again. And bringing the leg in, knees are in a line, and extending the leg away from you, point and lift. And then replace your right knee onto the floor. And pause, consolidate, weights equal on both knees. All right, and then extend that left leg back behind you, and lift, and point, and lift the inner leg a little bit more than the outer leg to keep the legs even. Bend that left leg in, straighten the leg away from you. Lift your chest. Good, bend the leg in. One last time, straightening the leg no higher than hip level. And then release and take another rest and fold down to the floor. This time bring your elbows in a little bit closer to you and wider for child's pose. And if you like, rest your head onto your hands. And let all the effort go out of your upper body, especially your shoulders and your shoulder blades. Right, and you're well prepared for downward facing dog pose. So let's take that from child's pose. Tuck your toes under. And when you're ready, press your hands, lift your knees, lift your hips. Look back at your legs. So for the first dog pose, take your feet as wide as the mat in deference to your hamstrings. And then bend your knees. Keep your heels as elevated as you can, and even let the weight rotate towards your big toes. Get your shoulder stretch here, a tremendous shoulder stretch. Buttock bones high, nice bend at the knee joint. Beautiful. And then slowly lowering your heels. And take a kind of a reading there. How near to the floor do you get your heels at this point? Maybe very near, not so near. It doesn't matter. Just register how that's working. Good. And then take a break and kneeling and child's pose. And let's move with the breath. Inhale, roll up. Back to all fours. Coming into dog pose this time with your feet together, your legs together, your hands still shoulder width distance. Have a look back at your feet. Lift your heels. It's not just your heels, from the Achilles to the backs of the knees to the buttock bones. If you need to, by all means, keep your knees a little bit bent. And then balance your weight onto your left foot and raise your right leg behind you.
like you did in cat pose with your toes pointed. Keep your hips level, and you can create that feeling by turning your right leg in slightly. Beautiful. And left leg. Point your toes. Lift through the inner arch of your foot, the inside of your knee, and stretch that leg away. And then let's pace ourselves and just go a little bit more quickly. Replacing your left foot, raise your right leg. Replacing your right foot, raise your left leg. Let's go back and forth through this movement, which seems to be working shoulders and arms quite strongly too. I'm finishing on the left now and happily folding down to the floor. I always think of origami when I come into child's pose this way, just folding neatly to and beautifully to the floor. And really relax across the top shoulder line. All right, and then finally, let's come all the way up to standing. And I mentioned something, if you don't have such a thing as a face cloth or a towel, that's fine. You can try this on at a later time just as an experiment. We're going to take the whatever cloth that you've got. You might have a jumper, I don't know, something article of clothing. And so I've got my cloth down on the floor in front of me. I'm going to step up onto it with my right foot and then try to pick that item up. So here we are, we're back to scrunching the toes. What are we doing? We're strengthening the toe bones. I don't know, if you got a hold of the thing, you might lift it up. You could show me. If you're not completely successful there, have a few goes. It helps if you wrinkle up your fabric to begin with, so you've got something to grab onto. So toes are important for your balance. So all these movements that we do where we give them a bit extra care will serve you really well just for that simple reason. So have a go, right foot, left foot, and then all over again. I think I'm going backwards. And maybe you're finding that one foot and one set of toes is more intelligent in this way than the other, or less arthritic. Okay. And you might even work up to being able to pick up your belt, your yoga belt. What do we call this? Prehensile toes. And if you do have such a thing, grab it now. Take up your yoga strap. And once you've got a hold of it, then step up onto it. So you've got the ends are loose, not bound, and step up onto it. So you've got the balls of your feet supported onto the belt, your feet hip width apart. I'm holding the two ends and drawing the tension on the belt, so the belt's quite taut. I learned this through a friend of mine who teaches up in Darwin, and it's just a device for
lowering your shoulders. So feel as your arms are straight and you've wound a little bit of the belt on you and your legs are straight, you can draw your shoulders down and your shoulder blades down. And file away that feeling, because that is quite handy in seated poses and standing poses and the lot. And then let's keep hold of the belt, but bend your knees a little bit, knees over your ankles. And I've got a short belt here, but you might want to wind on just one more time the belt onto your hands. And then as you straighten your legs, come slightly forward. So take a bow forward, that's just a small bow, and then open up your chest forward. I've straightened my legs, but you might want to keep your knees a little bit bent. And then wind a little bit more of the belt onto your hands. And at this point, you're very close, much closer to your feet and your toes. So have a look at them and open up the spacing between them once more. Keep the big toes moving into the center line and the little toes moving away. And then one more wind on of the belt onto your hands. And draw the tension strongly on the belt. Lift up your chest and lead with the breastbone, bring it forward. Look out along the floor in front of you, in front of your mat, and lift your buttock bones up towards the ceiling. And at this point, we're ready to get rid of the belt, so just merely drop it. And bring your hands onto your lower shins, your ankles. And we're moving towards a pose that's called Padangusthasana, big toe pose. So if you're within striking distance, you might catch hold of the big toes with your index finger, your middle finger, and thumb on top. Once there, then lift your breastplate again. Get that feeling through your shoulders, drawing your shoulders back, and create a lean in towards the front of your heel. Feel where your heel bones are. I don't think I've mentioned heels so far. At the front of your heels, and lift your buttock bones up a little higher towards the ceiling. And finally, for the last part, if you haven't done it yet, release your head down and bend your elbows out to the side. So the arms make a big circle shape, elbows moving out, chest moving closer to your legs, Padangusthasana. Good. Release the hold on your big toe and bend your knees right over your ankles or even over your toes. Hands to your hips. Press your hips down onto your legs and inhale and come all the way up. Good. Good work. And then step off your belt. And I think for the moment we'll just leave that to the side. And finally, I think we're ready for a few standing poses. Standing poses are the ones that really strengthen legs, hips, and feet in particular. Let's focus on feet. Step out wide. So Sanskrit name Prasarita Padottanasana. And then let's do a little bit of that rolling movement through your feet. So you did this while you were seated, and rolling to the outer arch of your foot, rolling to the inner arch of your foot. You can do this as a very small movement, a subtle movement, rolling in, rolling out. And I'm really appreciating the mobility of all those bones, ligaments, tendons of the feet and the toes. Good. Now bring your movement to a standstill, literally, and have a look at neutral position. So your weight's on the big toe, pressing down the inner heel, and then drop the inner arch of your foot. This is a really great pose to practice that. Inner arches of your feet lifting up, without rolling to the outer ankle. So lift the outer arch of your foot if you can discover that movement. And you'll feel all the leg muscles engage as you do that. With your hands onto your hips, let's take a forward bow and only halfway down. In your halfway momentum, lead with your top front chest. Open your collarbones wide, and we're halfway there. And notice if your intelligence that you establish in your feet has changed. The arches lifting, inner and outer arches of your foot. And then bring your elbows back behind you, as though you're trying to bring your elbows together. And then inhale and come up, and all the way up, and step into center. We've been concentrating so hard. Give your legs a good shake out, your feet a good shake out. Shake out your toes so you had some mud on your feet. And then grab your yoga block. Back on my mat, and then back to the distance for Prasarita Padottanasana, wide forward fold. Place the block in front of you on the high end. And without needing to go through the drill again, the arches of the feet active. Good. And then with your hands onto your hips, draw your elbows back behind the line of the body and squeeze them together. Feel the tremendous opening through the front chest, the collarbone spreading. And then from there, keeping the elbows where they are, then come into your bow forward. And then reach down, rest the heels of your hands onto the top of the block. This is really a nice way to work because we're just taking the effort out of the upper part of your body for the moment, focusing on your feet again. Stretch all of your toes, open up the spacing, and then shift your weight forward towards the forefoot. Sometimes we call this the balls of the feet, just beneath the toes. And then go the other way and drop your buttocks back and shift your weight onto your heels. And let's go back and forth between those 2 minutes. Rock forward, rock back. And especially notice the influence of where you place your weight on your feet in how you're working your leg muscles. So go slowly and register that feeling. And then let's stop midway, so the weight's on the forefoot and the heel. Then pump up your chest, bring it forward. Feel like you're still able to concave your back, shoulder blades towards the front of your chest. Beautiful, you're working beautifully. And then soften your knees a little bit. And if there's a further step that you can take to reach the floor now, have your hands spider shape, be up on the tips of your fingers, but light on and strong through your feet. Feel your ankles firm as though they're squeezing into the center line. And then finally, release your head down. But keep the backs of the legs from the heel bone to the buttock bone stretching up. Release your neck completely. Good. Walk your hands forward. Bring your hands onto the top of your yoga block again. Lean out. Open your chest forward. Hands to your hips. Bring your elbows closer together. Inhale and come up. And take a little break and step into center. Good. Shoulders relaxed. Soften the backs of your knees. Let's use a wall now, and this is the toe emphasis again, and positioning yourself to face the wall. Let's see. Yes. Stand right foot forward, left foot back. I'm going to bring my fingertips onto the wall at chest height. Right foot forward, left foot back. And we're setting ourselves up for Warrior One pose. Now come in close enough to the wall, and lift your toes up onto the skirting board. Or if you don't have a skirting board, then just lift the toes onto the wall, but keep your heel onto the floor. How's that going? From here, I'm going to adjust my distance for Warrior One. So around about a meter's distance. And then bend your right knee until your knee is over your ankle. Good. Adjust your hips. It's really nice to have the wall support, so my hands supporting me on the wall. My chest is square to the front. And then square the hips. Bring the left hip forward and the right hip back. And then finally, can you do everything that you're doing and balance in this manner and bring your hands onto your hips? Good. And even arms overhead in kind of a V shape. Good. Lower your arms, hands to your hips, straighten your front leg. Let's step left foot to right and change, and left foot toes up onto the baseboard, the skirting board, right foot back. Good. Take a lunge and your left knee comes forward, not all the way to the wall, just over your ankle. Right leg's back at that optimum distance. And then I've still got my hands onto the wall, getting my balance there because I'm disadvantaged in a way because I don't have my front toes on the floor, but also strengthening the toes and pressing them into the skirting board, and then lifting your chest high. If you're ready, hands to your hips and arms overhead. And I'm noticing it's an effort to stay on the inside of your foot, my foot, the big toe side of my foot. Can you do that? Good. And then lowering your arms, straightening the front leg, and stepping right foot to left. Good. Come back onto your mat. And away from the wall, and then step out for Prasarita Padottanasana. Step wide, and step firmly into your feet. Hands to your hips, elbows back, press the shoulder blades forward. Lift your chest high and light, tilt your chin up, inhale, exhale, come forward. And finally, bring your hands down. If you need to use that block for support, then continue. Otherwise, hands all the way down. Let's do the contrasting movement. Weight forefoot, leaning forward, leaning into the heels. Let's keep the momentum more and more towards the forefoot. And at the same time, you can drill in the heels. Then take your hands back further. Drop your head. For those of you who are more supple, then bring your hands flat. And even further to line up with your feet or behind the line of your feet. Chest towards your legs, buttock bones towards the ceiling. And there's a big temptation now to flatten the arches. So pump them up. So you had a little air pump underneath your inner arches, outer arches of your feet. Head down, bum up. Good. Take a walk forward. Back on your fingertips or back up onto the block. Anchor your feet. Strong feet, hands to your hips, elbows back. Inhale and come up. And shuffle your feet in. Beautiful. And then let's go back to the wall for Warrior Two pose. So I'm going to use that same idea, placing my toes onto the skirting board or just above the skirting board. So heel down but toes up. And then stepping, now so that I can face the camera, I've got my left foot onto the wall, left toes onto the wall, and stepping back that meter or so distance, right foot away from my left foot. Good. Bending into your right leg, can you bring your left leg, can you bring your left knee right over your ankle? And then with your hands onto your hips, place your fingertips onto the wall, extend the opposite arm back away from you. Good. Turn your chest and square your chest, both sides of your chest parallel. Good. Look towards the wall, roll your chest up. See if you can bring more and more pressure onto the toes and onto the balls of the feet. And at the same time, drill the heel down, the bent leg heel. Extend your opposite arm away from you. Good. And then let's go second side, straightening up. And placing right foot, at least for me, or whatever foot you're on, right foot to the wall. Step back, get your balance. Bend into your right knee, bring it forward, and just have a look and see whether your shin bone is perpendicular to the floor. So this is a real test for your balance, which doesn't go astray either. So it's really quite secure and comforting to know the wall's there. Place your right fingertips onto the wall. Extend your left arm away. Reach that arm back. Bring the right side of your chest forward. Look out towards the wall. Chest is high. And feel your footing again. So right foot toes pressing down. Heel bone pressing down will open up the right groin. And then strong back leg. Let's come up from there. Inhale and come up. And release. And stepping back onto your mat. One more go. Prasarita Padottanasana. And this time with your block in front of you once more, take your bow forward and place your right hand onto the block. Keep your left hand onto your hip, and let's do a rotation here. Turning towards the left, right hand supporting you there, left elbow back, left shoulder back. And then just take pause there. We're being really conscientious and mindful about what we're doing. As you turn to the left there, feel the effect that that's had on your right leg. And it's just so tempting to flatten that arch. So let's lift the inner arch of the right foot and bring weight to bear onto the right heel. And with the last round of this particular pose, if you like, and in this rotation, you can bring your left arm up over your left shoulder, or just keep your left hand onto your hip if you prefer. Good, let's swap it. And turning to the right side, right hand, right hip. Lifting your chest high. Bring your chest a little forward so you're on your forefoot again. And turning. And in consideration of the leg you can't see, the left leg, lift the inner arch of your foot, press out to the outer heel, and if you like, at this point, extend up your arm. Good. And then back to center. Good. Support yourself well there with your hands onto the block. Bring your chest forward. Feel the front chest buoyant, light as you lift up and bring it forward. tone your leg muscles, and then bend your knees a little bit and shuffle. Toe heel, back to center. Good. And slowly come up, inhaling, and back to standing. Very nice work. Let's do something with the block once more. In the reclining position on your back, on your mat, preparing for some small bridges. Lying on your back. Legs bent, and then the block goes on the medium range between your lower thighs, just above your knees, and your 2 feet on the floor. Why bother with the block? Because it'll help you track straight with your knees straight forward and keeping your hips contained. So how much pressure against the block? It doesn't need to be a lot. So maybe 20%, 30% pressure against the block. Keep your weight on the inside of your feet, in particular the big toe and the inner heel. And from here, turn your hands over so your palms are down and nuzzle your shoulder blades into the mat. That's such a nice feeling to bring weight to bear to that area and hold it firm. And merely now, this is the tiniest of ways that you can do the rotation through your pelvis with your breath. Inhale fully and allow the belly to inflate. Exhale completely and draw the navel back towards the floor. So we're not doing any lift off yet, just working with the breath. Inhale, expansion, exhale, a little more pressure through the shoulder blades and drawing the abdominal wall back. Keep going. And enjoy that rocking feeling through the pelvis. Just the smallest of movement through the very lowest part of your spine and your sacrum. And then let's bring that to a halt and bring your feet in a little bit closer to you. The closer in your feet are, the more you're going to want to lift your heels. And let's do that. Heels come up. Light pressure against the block. So we're coming onto our toes again. Notice what a difference it makes when you're using the base of the toes, all 5 of them, big toe to little toe. Where does the feeling come into your leg work, into your hip work as you do that, as you balance that way? And then roll the wheel of your spine down very slowly on a long exhalation. Keep your heels up throughout, and let's go to lift the pelvis once more. The pelvis comes up. This time, turn your arms out, if you haven't done that yet, and all the way to the top arm and the shoulder joint. Roll out. Good. Roll your spine down. Feel perhaps each vertebra touch down. Turn your hands down. Press your hands into the mat. Press your upper back into the mat. Let's go one more round, and you're still on your toes. Keep the base of the big toe strong, and you're lifting up. Turn your arms out. Let your chest flower open, the corners of your chest. And last time, coming down. And let's be without the block when you touch down. Block to the side. Bring your knees, your feet, your legs all the way together. Beautiful. And then let's try a kind of balancing act here. So keep your hands pressing down, even your upper arms and your shoulders pressing down. Bring your weight to bear onto your left foot and lift your right foot off the floor and extend your right leg up towards the ceiling. So the legs moderately straight. See if you can keep any movement or sway from side to side by pressing your shoulder blades. And then replace your right foot onto the floor. Keep your buttocks elevated. Balance the weight now, weight bearing through your right foot, strong right foot. Lift your left foot off the floor. Extend the left leg up towards the ceiling. Notice if you've recruited muscles from your neck or your top chest. Can you stay relaxed there? Replace left foot. Let's have one more round each side. When your right leg is back to extending, flex your foot, dorsiflex your foot, lift up through your inner heel a little bit more, and you might just find you can lift your buttocks more. Good. Folding right leg, replace left leg, good. Flex your foot. What difference does that make when you do that? Then a little bit more attention to lifting up the left inner heel. Press your right foot down and replacing left foot to the floor. Lower all the way down. And often we have an instinct here to bend the knees and rock a little bit on the lower back. Knees towards your chest, that nice rolling movement side to side. Good. And then both feet back on the floor, relaxed. Right, and then come up to a seated position. Bring your bolster or a cushion to sit on. And your strap nearby. Now there's a payoff in sitting up straight, and how to do that is to move buttocks back slightly, legs are straight out in front of you, and come onto the sitting bones. Good. If that's less available to you, you can bend your legs, and then it's easier to come onto the front of the sitting bones. We're going to do a rotation here. So let's have right leg straight, bend your left leg in. Your left heel's placed right up against the cushion or your left buttock. Then bring your right leg a little bit to the right. Doesn't have to be a big distance. And step your left foot a little bit to the left. Turn your left foot out slightly towards the left. And now you've got this space between the tops of your thighs. So a little bit more wiggle room there. Then, for your rotation, bring your right hand onto the cushion or the bolster. I still have my block and my arms are relatively short. So I'm going to bring the block behind me and place my hand onto the top of the block. Once I've done that, then I can sit up straighter. It's as though my arm acts as a second spine and helps me lift up. Then place your left elbow against the inside of your left knee, and just with a little pressure, turning to the right side. Good. Bring your right shoulder back and feel the action of that in your shoulder blade. Beautiful. And before you finish there, press your knee against your arm, and you might find that you can turn just a little bit more. Good. Turn to face center. Let's add another movement here and extend your left arm out. Bring your left fingertips to the floor and your right hand on the outside of your right leg. Walk your fingers forward. Stretch out. Stretch out as far as you can. Good. And we'll work into this a little bit more in the second round. And come all the way up and change your leg position. So we can rotate the other way. Good. And sitting up tall, left hand behind you or left hand onto your cushion, and right elbow, right knee, and turning. Now we shouldn't leave behind the footwork, the toe work and so forth completely. So even as you turn and you can't really see your straight leg so well, get the sense that you're able to stretch the leg, be on the center of the left heel. The front of the ankles relax, but your foot's perpendicular to the floor, looking back. Good. Finally, press your knee against your elbow. Turn that a little bit more if possible. And then let's face forward and bring the left hand on the outside of the left leg. Bring the right arm forward and lean out. Much easier now to come to sit on the front of the sitting bones. Good. Inhale and come up. Change your leg position. And let's try a deeper turn. I'm going to keep my belt next to me too. I might need that. And go into a forward movement. So in that space between the thighs, walk your hands forward onto your mat. Stretch right out. Lengthen out. Good. And I've got my hands on the floor, tiptoeing my fingers forward. At this point, I'm getting a much bigger stretch in the straight leg. If that's too strong for your hamstrings, then bend your knee up a little bit. All right. And then we're going to bring the left arm in front of the left shin bone or the knee, palm facing forward. And turn your thumb down to the floor. Start to bend your elbow and bring your hand back behind your left leg. We're going to try to bind here. Bring your right arm back behind you, and then you'll know straight away whether you can link your hands. If it happened that you were able to link your hands, then straightening up again. If not, you've got your handy belt to join between right hand, left hand. And we're going to do a twist away from the bent leg to the right, looking that direction. Bring your shoulder back. Now it's really important that you keep your base strong. So feel that left foot pressing down, your right heel pressing down, lift up. Good. And then back to center. Release all of that, undo that, and switch legs. Good. Let's start all over again then. And the hands onto the floor, a bow forward from the hip fold. Good. Tiptoe the hands forward. You could lift that right arm and extend through the shoulder blade as well. And then open the right arm in front of the right knee or the shin. Turn your thumb down. And you'll probably notice a difference between the right side and the left side. Bending the elbow and bringing your right hand behind you onto the back waist. Left arm bends. Bring your other hand back behind you. And linking hands. Good. Now straighten up as much as you can, and let's do the rotation looking to the left side. Press your right foot down. That makes a difference in how you're working through the leg and the hip. Chest up, looking left. It's strong work. Good. Use the belt to join your hands if you're missing the mark and joining the hands without. and then turning center and release, and left leg straight with the right. Beautiful. Take up your block. Legs straight out for a moment in Dandasana. Adjust your seat on the bolster, and then bend your left leg out to the side, bend your right leg out to the side for Baddha Konasana. Place the belt between the soles of your feet. If this opening through the groins you find tight, then you might want to have your feet out at a little distance from you, and then it's easier for you to come forward with your hip pelvic tilt. I'm going to keep my feet relatively close in because I've got a good stretch through the groin, and I'm as though I'm holding my my block between my feet. Bring your hands onto the bolster, straighten right up again. I don't know, can you lift the block off the floor? Toes, heels. We've got these almost prehensile foot bones. Whatever prehensile means. And then keep the soles of the feet flat against the block. Keep your upright position. And press in as much as you can. It's easy to press in with the forefoot, I'm finding, the base of the toes. How about the heels? And what difference does that make when you press your heels? Press the backs of your toes as well. Good. Keep the upper body relaxed, your shoulders, your chest muscles. Beautiful. And then let's take the block away and bring the soles of your feet all the way together. Bring as much intelligence into your feet as you did with the block. Each of the metatarsals pressing, the heels. And then if you can, pitch forward from the hip fold and bring your hands onto the floor in front of you. If that movement is a little bit foreign, unfamiliar, then come up onto your fingertips and lead with your chest and lift up and out. Otherwise, take as deep a forward bend as you can. Right, easing out. And in a kindly fashion, bring your hands onto the outside of your knees, lift both your knees at the same time, extend your legs, Dandasana, the rod pose. Beautiful. Let's finish this series with legs up the wall. So take what you need and find your wall space. What you might need in particular today would be a bolster next to the wall to support your legs in a little bit more vertical position, in a little bit more lift. You could bind your legs together with your belt, and then you don't have to use your leg muscles to keep your legs together. And find a eye covering if you like. Just a soft cloth or an eye pillow. If you don't want your hips elevated, then just move right up against the wall. But make sure that you're comfortable. So I found my way into the position, and then oftentimes what we do here is we do a little finagling to get in closer to the wall. And when you've done that and your buttocks are close as you can to the wall, then move your shoulders towards the wall too. I'm going to take a variation here and bend my elbows, rest my hands onto my abdomen.
Keep your eyes open for a little while longer and look at where you've placed your legs. Are they in a line, or are you a little bit to the right or the left? Does your torso line up with your legs? And those adjustments will make a difference as you stay for these 5 minutes. If you happen to have the palms or the forearms resting onto your abdomen, now if you haven't closed your eyes and feel your breath there. Release any tension around the solar plexus. And soft breathing, both inhalation and exhalation. Eyes soft. You could just leave your arms bent and hands resting onto the middle of the torso, or your hands resting over your heart center, or just leave the arms out to the side like Shavasana. The important message here, the shape of the pose, Viparita Karani, legs up the wall, is just to let all the work go out of your toes, your feet, lower legs, upper legs, like a really gentle waterfall. All the energy that you put into those areas rolling down, kind of pooling in the abdominal area, and then flowing down towards the heart center. And bathing the heart in relaxed energy. And towards the base of the throat. And this part's up to you. If you would like to stay longer, get the complete benefits of this legs up the wall pose, by all means stay there. And otherwise I'm going to start moving out and away from the wall, but still lying down. And when you're ready, from the bent leg position, coming up to seat yourself. Cross-legged or hero pose, Virasana. Coming together to finish here with the hands placed in front of the breastplate.
Drop your chin a little bit. Drop your gaze with your eyes lightly closed so that you're looking into the heart center. Feel with every breath you can elevate your heart. And take time to be in that space of gratitude for the yoga practice, and especially for this privilege we have of coming together in this manner to practice. Feel the goodwill that you fund from doing the yoga practice every time you come to your mat. And send that goodwill out to each of us and to the wider world. Namaste.